Welcome back, everyone. Medios and Stunt are subbing in Phoenix 1. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's about to try and give Phoenix 1 the momentum they need here to stay in this best of 5. As well, changes for C9 as Impact will be put into the lineup once again. The strategic changes from Reapered always coming in.
Yeah, I like that. Which side do I go to here? I'm drawn to the light, but
doesn't know. Cloud9, P1, which one?
This is honestly awesome, though. Yeah, Medios is coming back in. Phoenix 1 are making a bunch of switches. We talked about, they're going to have to completely revamp to get back into this series. And not only are they bringing Medios back in, but they're also switching Stunt for Shady to try and shake up the bottom lane for Phoenix 1 and try and get some carry performances out of them.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what changes here because the team used to have Adrian, and when you looked at their ward stats, Adrian was second in the league for placing vision wards and also placing just wards per minute in general, right behind Olay. And then these guys, Stunt and both Shady, are actually much further down the list, 5th, 6th, getting towards those lower halves. So the vision and the setup from Phoenix 1 has actually suffered since the rookies have come in, and also the defensive play, because we saw in that last game just exploitation of the gaps in visions last game.
It's also interesting to me that, pairing junglers and supports is one of the most common things that we like to look at, especially when vision is concerned. Now you're bringing in Medios, a more veteran jungler, plus a more control-oriented jungler, and we'll see if him being in there with one of the rookie supports will present more of these jungler support duo missions for warding and the fight for all this river coverage that has been crucial in this series. Whereas, with Inori, he was feeling pressure to make moves early as well as fight the vision fight and may have been pulled in too many different directions.
That's true. And also another thing I want to bring up here is Medios, every playoffs he has played, he has made the finals. He's now playing in a situation where he has to win every game from here on out to actually make the finals again and keep that record alive.
And as we get ready for Champion Select here, Medios, Stunt, and Impact, as they are now in on the Rift, they will be giving a few minutes here to set up the pages they need if anything needs changing and get themselves calibrated up here before we get into game. So as they set themselves up, we wonder now, how does Cloud9 react to this, right? They're used to switching things up, but do they even have to react that much, or do they keep playing their game?
Yeah, well, first thing, Impact is back in, so we'll probably see more tank-oriented from the top lane, even though we just saw a full tank, basically, from Ray up there. Just with the Tiamat, maxing shield, building mostly defensive items, and being the initiator for the team. Impact actually might feel a very similar role for the squad.
Your bans and your picks will definitely change. The Renekton I don't think gets banned. The Camille I don't think Phoenix 1 really have to ban it again this game. Whereas for Cloud9, question is, do they go for the strategy that other teams had implemented where they ban things like Elise against Medios, Zac, etc., and even Olaf to try and force him down the comfort tier? Last time they played each other, they didn't do that, and Medios got Elise both games. Ryu got to play an AD mid, and they still won and smashed pretty much the whole map.
And the big question still stands. What is Phoenix 1 going to do to actually solve the mid lane problem? At the beginning of the series, we talked about, okay, Ryu versus Team Dignitas, he absolutely destroyed. Maybe one of the best performances, all split from him in a series. Now, versus Jensen, obviously a very, very difficult mid laner to go against, especially just laning phase being concerned. Will these jungle substitutions, support substitutions, actually be able to affect, the vision around mid lane and the snowballing in that lane? Will they be able to punish Jensen for a super aggressive style, which Medios, one of the conflicts when he was on Cloud9 that he had was with Jensen and with, the super aggressive and kind of selfish mid lane style.
I remember the first time that Cloud9 played Phoenix 1, it was with Medios in the lineup for Phoenix 1. And he kind of knew how to gank Jensen. He got the better of him in mid multiple times. I remember that very clearly, where he teamed up with Ryu, and they had a whole bunch of skirmishes where they 2-on-2'd, won those 2-on-2'd, and even went for a whole bunch of ganks. So it seems like he kind of had Jensen figured out a bit, which could be an advantage here, because Medios is very familiar with the players on Cloud9.
Right.
Also, if there is a guy on a previous team where people know you've had differences, if that guy kills you, it also will affect your mentality in that game, right?
Going to be tilted just a little bit, or go for those kills just a little bit more. in the situations when you haven't been getting them. We're just waiting to get in the game. We're almost ready for Champion Select, and we will see if P1 with their changes can hold out in this best of 5. Cloud9 making a very good run here to hit that finals in Vancouver with a 3-0. Seeing what Ryu could possibly do now, as we were saying, from that mid lane. You said the AP in the jungle brings out his AD. I feel like that Jace is so big for him, or champions where he can whittle somebody down, and then he knows when to take that correct decision, that correct fight, even in a 2v1, a 3v1. He's very mechanically gifted in those scenarios.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it's do or die right now for Phoenix One, so they have to pull out all the stops.
Yeah, and this is where they go, all right, it's time to put Snub back in. It's time to put Meteos back in. See if they can make a miracle happen here and reverse sweep Cloud9. And we talked about it before. Meteos, he's made every finals, but Cloud9 have won every best of 5 in North America, except against TSM is the only time they've ever dropped series like that. So one of those 2 breaks today.
Changing up 2/5 of the roster is definitely going to throw a lot of curveballs in, though. So Cloud9 do have to be ready, especially concerning pick bans and the way that all of these substitutions are actually going to affect it.
C9 will be back on red side this game, so they can get that counter pick for Jensen, make sure he's happy in the mid. We actually saw Ryu take the LeBlanc in the previous way that, or in the previous game that C9 was red. That's been banned since from him, and just haven't seen those results we've been looking that they had against Dignitas. Now we are into Champion Select for Game 3, a possible match point for Cloud9, as Phoenix One has pulled out all the stops and look for a victory here.
And so the bans previously from Phoenix One were Lee Sin, Elise, and Rengar on blue side, and Cloud9 had done Rumble, Kennen, and Ivern. I feel like some of those will definitely change up here. Lee Sin will stay. Don't know if you have to ban Elise now.
It's interesting because Contracts has been so good at, not only creating early game leads for Cloud9 so far this series, but also big late game performance there in the last one. Now he's getting targeted very, very heavily again by Phoenix One, just like the first game that we saw.
Yeah, and I remember when Contracts first came into the scene, a lot of people were like, yes, Lee Sin's his best champion, and everything else falls off from there. He's shored up that weakness. He's added a lot of champions to that pool. Elise, Graves, even the Rengar for him have been good picks. So Contracts throwing bans at him kind of just doesn't
Hasn't worked
him.
yet.
It doesn't hamstring him. It kind of just knocks him off of the cream of the crop, and that's it.
Been interesting to watch his kind of rise and being more aggressive. With the Ivern start, you thought maybe he was a lot of utility for the team and would always trend that way. But like you guys said, has that aggression and now trying to be matched by Meteos on the side of P1 as he is subbed in.
And I could do like, Cloud9 sticking to their guns as well as far as the pick ban plans that both teams came into the series with. Not being thrown off by the substitutions, not kind of jumping into that, let's try and ban the Meteos comfort champions. Meteos to me is a guy that, yeah, he does have those comfort champions, but man, he has put in a lot of time in a lot of different champions as well. And he still has things like the Gragas that are just ready and waiting to pop out. So we'll see what they decide to first pick here. So many options still available. Will they again go with a jungle takeaway from Contracts and kind of make it that semi-4 bans?
I would think it's kind of Elise or Lulu here in my mind for Phoenix One. I think would be the 2 really obvious ones to go with, because the Elise would be the 4th pick that they would strangle away from Contracts, and another comfort one. He'll have to play something like Kha'Zix or Ivern this game.
There's the AP in the jungle we're looking for from Phoenix One.
And I gotta say,
C9 has
a rookie pulling 3 bans and a first pick in the jungle, that's worth right there. Like, even if Contracts, I would say, like, does nothing for the rest of the game, that's a damn good job right there, pulling a whole bunch of bans. Not everybody does that. You don't always have to play around certain players on a team. Like, you'd love to be able to throw bans at Jensen, at Impact, get him off some tanks, but if they're spending them all on Contracts and he still performs well or neutral, that's a win right there.
Gotta respect the guy when he's on.
A lot of the same coming through from Cloud9 as well compared to game number 1 for them. Sneaky and Smoothie feel very comfortable with this duo, and rightfully so. A lot of early lane control for themselves and the late game initiation potential there, as well as defense versus assassins also works versus Elise, right? Lulu protects very well against her as well.
Yeah, Lulu is just a huge blocker for people who want to make plays. And then you have your own playmaker on the Ashe. It becomes very frustrating to make a play and have it succeed against a Lulu. So it means things like Talon become less likely to be picked. Even Ahri is something that you have to really consider. What's the Lulu going to do here? And I would even say LeBlanc, because the last time Ryu played LeBlanc, it was into this Lulu here from Smoothie.
Yeah.
And one of those fights, he jumped in, got stunned, and then he got polymorphed and obliterated.
So the Zyra pickup provides a strong lane, also safety for someone that might take an arrow to the face.
Yeah, we've also been seeing Phoenix One have low pressure bottom lane
Yep.
in these last 2 games,
True.
and now they have one that you expect to force push up the whole time and get some wards behind them so they aren't as easily ganked.
I mean, they've had Karma the last 2 games, and Karma not too
You would
shabby
expect, yeah.
either. So we'll see how Stun can do here. Definitely can combo very well with the Varus, and if you're able to land up one of those snares, you do have to be very careful though about the level 6s from both sides. Possibility of getting those kills early on.
Oh, a Kassadin ban from Cloud9. Very interesting.
They do have first pick in the second round of the draft phase. So they could even go with the LeBlanc on their side if Jensen wants to try his hand at it. They did definitely feel the pressure from all the sustain of a Gunblade and might fancy it himself.
Yeah, you might have to ban it yourself as well.
Top laners get a bit more love here as C9 focusing that on their side in the first phase of bans. Now 18 seconds here in Cloud9 with their final ban.
Maybe Ari take that away from Ryu.
Reaper communicating with the team. It's actually going to be the
Bruiser.
Fizz.
They've actually thrown so many bans to keep Impact safe. The Rumble, the Kennen, the Renekton, and the Fizz. They've taken away a lot of the tank bullies that you would typically pick into tanks to punish them and get a lane advantage.
Yeah, he would just be left with the Kled as far as one of his main champions for Zig, and he was handed his loss there in the last game by, yeah, there it is. As he said, it's always possible for Jensen to also pick that up.
Nautilus.
Phoenix One not going to let it go over after that Kassadin ban. Intelligent first round there for from Reaper, like him forcing out kind of that ban from Phoenix One.
And these have just been such interesting drafts back and forth. These are actually the 2 coaches were number 1 and 2 in the coach of the split voting. Yeah, sorry, Camille showed up. They're actually, sorry, there hasn't
Camille showed up.
I know.
Yeah, Zyreen's eyes go hard.
The thickness comes up and I'm just like, whoa. But yes, they were number 1 and 2, and it was by 6 points. 6-point difference between the 2. That is insane. That is 2 first-place votes of a difference between these 2 coaches. That's how much everybody was voting for both these guys. And look at that.
Meanwhile,
I can do anything, you can do better.
Man, it feels like Ray and Zig kind of learned from each other, because last time they played each other, Ray actually played Kled into Zig, and now he's playing Jarvan into Impact. But I gotta say, if you're playing Jarvan into Impact, you gotta suspect that Impact plays one-on-ones against Ray on that champion.
yeah, it does feel though kind of like Cloud9 have been one step ahead in this pick ban phase as Jensen's going to lock in his very, very successful Echo into the Syndra now as well. And they've got Impact on the premier tank in the top lane. He's done such a good job at flanking and being that front line for the team. This is definitely a composition that's in Cloud9's wheelhouse, and Phoenix One, the pressure is on.
Oh yeah, and the 1-3-1, even if Cloud9 lose a little bit of the early game, they can spread you quite thin. The Echo is so devastating and can go for flanks, and Jensen loves this champion. He'll have another global up his sleeve with the teleport, and I thought that the Echo would be the answer from Ryu in game 2 to the Syndra, because it's such a good counter. If it gets off the ground, it can body the Syndra, and that's what Jensen's gonna try to do this game.
Teleports as well on the side of Cloud9 as we see Ryu running that Taster's Choice Flash Ghost for Syndra to keep himself safe in the mid lane. As you said, pressure is on for Phoenix One. They have tried to soar high since being a team placed in the promotion tournament and now up playing in the semifinals for a spot in the finals in Vancouver. Cloud9 trying to halt them in their tracks with 2-0 now as we head into game 3. We're almost on the rift. Hashtag P1 win, hashtag C9 win.
And Cloud9, they want to make the finals. They want to be back there in Canada playing, redeeming themselves, whether it's against TSM, who knocked them out in summer and stopped them from having that first place spot, or against FlyQuest, part of their old team.
The crowd is ready.
I'm ready. Let's go. You're ready. Let's get in this game.
Ready in T-5, and we are on the Rift. Game 3 here of the semifinals. BO5 and Cloud9 looks to keep their losses a best of 5s, only at 1 if they can get this victory.
And I'm sure many fans' eyes will be on Meteos here and what he can do to change up the early game for Phoenix One on his Elise, one of his favorite champions, one of the premier early ganking champions as well. And off to the classic start. Stare down in the river.
Who's going to get the Raptors first? That's pretty much it. He's already put points into the W. You always take that on Elise at the beginning. You can check rush, etc. Walk up C.
Interesting thing, too, as well, with the, you talked about Zig kind of taking away the Ray-style champions here and playing the Jarvan into Impact. That is Impact's practice partner.
Yes, that's
So he's definitely had a lot of time to play against the Jarvan.
And it's also Ray's most played champion of all time at 15 games. I believe now, actually 16, now he's 11-5 on it. So he's played against somebody who is so practiced on that champion too. But I will say, we talked about how Zig performing on carry top laners, undefeated on things like Jace, also the Kled until that last game. That was his first loss ever on that champion in professional play. Now he's on something that's a little bit more carry-oriented again. So this might be a different look for P1, but the one that we really like to see from him.
Well, last time we did see some steal away on the small Raptors and nails a couple of them.
Got himself 2 of the small ones there. Walks away with 20 gold, a little bit more experience.
Sees that communicating to the team actually as he wipes his hands off quick, gets ready for the top lane.
And I will say, when you take 2 of those, you actually stop level 2 from coming out for the jungler. And that really sucks for contracts, because now Meteos gets to go take his blue.
Yeah, and it definitely does mean a lot for the Kazakhs especially, as far as the clear speed and trying to get the isolation to finish off that Raptor for your Q, because often, almost always, you'll start the W there for the AoE and spikes, but not able to count on the extra experience. Ward here from Jensen, but Meteos didn't waste any time. He left the large Raptor and immediately went in to go steal that. So already, Meteos here making aggressive moves, and Contracts is going to be on the back foot for quite a while.
Yeah, and he has almost no idea exactly where he is, because he could be bottom right now, ganking. And that's the funny part, too, is he took that blue, but they didn't see him return with Jensen's ward. So now you're going to see the bottom lane go for a ward here. Cloud9's like, where is he?
And my question is, because Meteos, you can still easily gank bottom lane. I mean, early game, bottom lane is super, super easy for Elise to get into, you know, either over the Dragon Pit or using any of the Blast Cones. My question is, will Meteos follow up on his threat against Sneaky, talking about camping bottom lane, and I'm going to be all over there?
Sneaky's like, I'm going to go in your jungle. Sneaky's playing Ashe, though. He doesn't have to go into the jungle. He just hawk shot and find where Meteos is. True. A little bit of a cheater. Yeah, say it.
Saying they would constantly invade. We'll see if they stay true to the story here in Game 3.
Yeah, I do want to talk about what we had just saw on the screen there, because that was a 9.6 CS per minute for Jensen, and he had about 2 more CS per minute over Ryu, and that just shows that Jensen's consistency in winning, losing matchups, whatever he's playing, he's getting control of mid, and he's constantly on top of his game, and those things add up very quickly to large gold leads yourself.
And as well, you got to play it very patiently and safely, knowing Contracts is having a bit slower of a jungle. So you have to play safe, but still has the upper hand.
There's 2 people coming in here, and Meteos is just chilling.
Flash forward, the ward was there. Repel is up, but he can only come down so far away. Is it a double buff refresh coming in? Meteos stays alive. He's got to walk on this one. And he's not going to hit the blast cone. Doesn't want to affect Zig too much, and he gets out.
It's actually a
great save.
Summoner spell advantage for P1 there.
Yep. A little hairy.
Yeah, that was strange, because Impact left lane, and then they kind of just waited. Meteos, don't know if he expected Contracts to be there.
I think well, you definitely should be expecting the full commitment there. And he is able to get a decent trade off. Got a little bit close for comfort there. We'll see how he is able to affect the bottom lane now as he heads off to go grab the Krugs. Meanwhile, Smoothie and Sneaky continuing their control of the bottom lane. Contracts, though, still feeling the pain from that
they'll still hit
2 Raptor camp small steal away from Zig.
Yeah, he's going to be, I believe, a level and a half down after all of that. So it's really rough for him, and it's not going to get much better either. He goes for early Tracker's Knife, whereas Meteos has more dueling power and levels.
And Meteos should know, they should be communicating to Meteos that the bottom lane of C9 just went over towards this Tribush to place that ward. So if he really does want to affect that bottom lane, there are a lot of options. You can Blast Cone, you can also save your Repel to try and attack Sneaky, and if he doesn't want to gank bottom lane, then he can just try and get some of that vision around mid lane that we were mentioning for a possibility of trying to help out Ryu and change the face of the game.
Oh. Spotted by the Hawk Shot, that ability. As junglers, hate it. Hate it when there's a good Ashe on the enemy team who can constantly just throw, even if you see the camps that are up and the camps that are down, that gives you still a lot of information because you know that that person is not going to be in that area for at least the next 2 minutes if you see it go down and he's on
Either you see them or you don't. It's still information the team can use.
Yeah.
It's busted. Yes. Tell Riot. So looking at this game, 6 minutes in, no real lead in either lane, and definitely a slowdown for Contracts. Nobody's really been fighting, but he has opened each game with 2 kills. Still has that chance, but Meteos has already been able to put a little bit of a tag on him here in the early game.
Yeah, it was teamwork to slow him down, make sure he doesn't get level 2 off of the first camp, and then took away his blue, got some of those camps over him. He's now kind of rubber banding a little bit back into this game and just sticking to farming, but that allows Meteos time to set up wards and allow for positioning and keep his lane safe.
Yeah, and unless Phoenix One can actually create some plays off of those wards, I think that Cloud9 are actually okay with going with a steady early game, going with the farm, try and just farm it out and wait for the opportunities where they really do shine. Here's the first roam from Smoothie and Contracts, once again working in unison.
Got a flash. Jensen getting a flash from the laner there is big without having to blow anything himself. Because now repeat gankable very easy, and Contracts will hit 6, and we've seen him use the R multiple times to get into lanes.
And not only did that move from the jungle or support combo lend some extra credibility to that all-in from Jensen, but also they cleared out all of those wards that Meteos and Ryu spent so much time setting up to try and protect against this. So here's one of the bigger changes that we're seeing, and it is the bottom lane really getting involved in this warding game. Meteos comes through too, and they try and correct it as quickly as possible. That being said, a lot of the deeper ones are sticking around, and C9 still have a lot of valuable information.
And there's going to be a small point in this game where Phoenix One are definitely going to be behind in control of the jungle and of the river, because Tracker's Knife for Contracts over Meteos going for the Skirmisher Saber, but also Frost Fang for stunt so he can do more damage and try to win lane alongside Arrow, whereas Smoothie will go for that Sightstone much faster.
Much faster. We'll still have the upgrades coming in, but the vision may play a bigger role in whoever gets that spike first. Cutlasses for both of the AD carries, as we see basically the same build throughout the games. Getting that attack speed and damage first. Contracts and Impact working the buddy system on the top side, and they're going to walk right into this vision.
Yeah, Meteos was on the bottom. They saw him with that ward. And also, he has a red buff to do. So now Contracts gets to hang out on top. That's a good ward from Zig, but it will be killed off, and he'll have to play more defensive for the next few minutes before he gets some cover from Meteos.
Also, remember this is an Infernal Drake as the first spawn. So anytime you see top lane movement from the jungler there, you really have to worry about control of that dragon. Splashes down, and Meteos is immediately on the dragon.
Exactly. He's on it right now, that flash.
And immediately off.
Yeah, because Hawk Shot sees him.
Uh-oh. Taking a little bit of damage.
Feel like pick up the plants, and then you wait. You just disengage, and then you revisit the bottom lane. Meteos might have to make good on his promise to visit Sneaky's lane.
Talked about the explosive level 6 from these bottom lanes. Ultimates are currently available.
Couldn't get around just enough. Oh, you can get it. This little dance between Ryu and Jensen. Jensen liking that a little bit more with Contracts just behind him, but so is Meteos. Top lane fight of Impact and Zig.
Riptide?
The depth charge goes out. Yeah, Riptide has slowed down the fight as Zig can't connect once again, and Impact's going to have to peel off here.
Yeah, he was waiting for his Courage of the Colossus to come back up. Went for that hook to try and proc it. Wasn't ready yet. The fruit, saving grace.
Yep. I was always wondering when those things came out. I was like, this plant looks busted. Hold on. Hits Ryu.
They're going to find him. That could be first blood. Parallel Convergence would have had him locked down. Remember, the flash was blown just earlier, so they make sure they tag onto that mid lane again.
Again, Contracts and Jensen are going to make the first blood happen. Meanwhile, Zig taking a lot of damage on the exit there, but once again, the mid lane has been so important, this jungle camp, and it finally does pay off. Sneaky this time, the man to set it up.
Yep, the vision there and the control. Ryu is just kind of getting choked out of this area and doesn't have enough control to see those coming, and the pressure bottom, the Frostbang purchase, etc., is not paying off in actual pressure to keep Sneaky and Smoothie in lane.
Plus, one of the main things I always mention with Jensen's Echo is that he earns a CS lead versus pretty much all champions.
I don't know how he does it.
He uses, obviously everybody does this, but he'll use his teleport early, you know, he goes for that shoving, but even doing that, the last hitting with Echo and with spamming Timewinder, he actually just lands a ridiculous number of those. Here goes the assassination though. Really good arrow from Sneaky to start it off, and then the all-in from the double assassin mids. Able to pick that one up very easily. And again, the big reward, Infernal Drake.
Yep, and they also get the flash from Meteos, so there's no return gank to the bottom where Sneaky has his down, and that you can make a flash cocoon play or anything of the like right now for Meteos.
C9 acting a little bit in the early game again. Does not seem like Contracts was hindered too much off of getting hit on Raptors, then not having a blue. He has found his way back into this game, and it was through Jensen in the mid lane.
Yeah, and Sneaky with that arrow, for sure.
Oh yeah,
setting that
absolutely.
up. And that's what we're not seeing from P1. They had something like a Shen, they had Rengar. We weren't seeing enough of these plays.
Right.
And Cloud9 weren't really putting themselves in too many positions where they could be punished that hard. And just get that pick. You have to be very conscious of that, though. Here comes another arrow.
Parallel convergence as well, coming in from just in the fog of war. Nicely played by Jensen. They're trying to get all the tricks with the fog here played to get an advantage in the mid lane.
Over a full level advantage as well for Jensen here, currently on the Echo in that mid lane. And, you know, again, the attempts from Meteos and Stunt working together, try and get some of that vision back and cut off the playmaking from the river, but gonna be a long time for them to really be able to gain control there.
And you're talking about the advantage that Jensen has. Highest CS per minute in the entire league, and that blows my mind because that's not just early game, that's the whole game. Sure, sometimes he gets funneled farm, but even if he's in losing matchups, he's still almost around that 10 per minute mark.
Oh, it gets locked up!
Let's see, he's feeling here. Chrono breaks back.
Meteos
Repel is up, and now they might have Meteos. That flash is down.
Yep.
It didn't have enough forward vision in the right spot to see that
They're
coming back
pinched
at
in.
them. Ryu could be the focus. Arrow tries to get to him for the flash into free position. Impact knows he has to walk out, and Cloud9 read that quite nicely to get themselves to safety.
And Zig doesn't have enough mana here to go for an EQR combo onto anybody, so there's no way he can catch after that teleport.
Another victory there for Cloud9, coming out with the extra kill, and now again working in force to clear out more of the vision, remove more of the options. Meanwhile, Sneaky gets flashed on.
Where's the R?
Stunt
There it is.
going hard. There's a piercing arrow through. Hail of arrows, and the last auto from Stunt is going to pick that up. Sneaky heal is down as he goes as well.
Yeah, Ignite comes up as well for that kill. That's one of those ones, though, you're like, Arrow really wants that kill to get himself further ahead in
That's
the
a good
game.
point.
He's already winning lane. He wants to propel himself because this is a game that might get out of control very shortly because Jensen is starting to take over. Echo's hitting those points. If he starts split pushing, who's going to answer him? TP-less, 2-level down Syndra? I don't think so.
Yeah, Proto Belt is completed, and a flashless Varus is a very juicy target.
Yeah.
They might even start rotating him into a side lane before one of the turrets fall. Currently, though, a lot of attention top lane.
Impact, hidden the bush. He does this all the time, and Zig flashing out.
A little bit of separation in the terrain to try and stop Contracts, but he's got the movement speed. The long-range toss and Impact reels him in for the kill.
And Zig's out of mana there. He can't EQ combo. He doesn't have enough resources to do that. You're spending all of that on that top lane wave clear. Impact does that all the time. I've told the story before where on the tournament realm, people use different names and they change their names, etc. So Cloud9, well, you don't know if it's Ray or Impact. They have a random name. But teams will be like, oh, no, that's Impact because he hid in that middle bush for like a minute and a half, made me think I was alone to clear the wave, and then comes out, gets the gank off, so Impact will set up his own ganks by pretending he's not there, giving you a false sense of security.
Just hiding in the brush. Big guy to be hiding, but he does manage it quite often. Oh, the hitbox hook onto Stunt. Turret shots as well. Nicely done by Impact. The little things going in their favor, and those start to play on you.
Meanwhile, the other 2 lanes for Cloud9 are pushing. Mid lane, kind of a setup dive opportunity as Contracts is waiting behind that Raptor pet, but Meteos moves past the ward, and they're going to see that the numbers will soon turn. Everybody now gravitating that way. Arrow at the ready.
Yeah, I was about to say that arrow is very important here.
Oh.
Hey, that's actually
That arrow.
the okie doke.
This arrow, I was wondering which arrow you meant.
Wow.
Because this arrow is going to be the one that becomes important. 1-0-1 mid lane for C9.
Yeah, you don't expect that at all. What are they doing there? You thought they were going to rotate and wrap around mid. As soon as it shows that Impact is now soaking the pressure top and dying, that's going to be mid turret because now that bottom lane can't come reinforce mid.
2 can play at that game.
That's crazy.
The duo lane hides in Fog of War against Impact and catches him instead.
I don't think I've actually seen that before where the bottom lane goes top and then instead of rotating mid and pushing them off that mid turret, you go for a kill and trade a kill for turret.
Even if they were to complete their rotation down, though, it would be difficult for them to actually defend that turret. Contract is going to have difficulty defending himself
There's an ulti here
against
from
Zig.
Zig.
I was going to say, if you can see him out of that one invisibility, but Contract still had the leap out. Smoothie's going to be the caboose here, making sure everything is safe as they back out of the situation. And now P1 to clear their wards. And Zyrene, to what you're speaking about in top lane, it really becomes only possible when P1 can dodge all vision, right? If you see the 80 carry or 80 and support going top, you lose a lot of ground across the map.
Here comes the Drake start. All members of P1 committing.
They're going to try to kill this real quick. Jensen on the flank, and they're getting pinched in. Arrow available from Sneaky. Hit stun.
Oh, he tried to back up. The team will look to help him. Jensen's going to go in a 2v1 situation. Stunts exploded by Contracts on the rest of the team. Now they're on to Meteos in the back line. P1 can't even get the staggered fight on different members. It's Cloud9 coming up with the fight for themselves with 3 kills.
Cloud9 split them in half with that arrow. Jensen had the angle on the flank from the Drake, and they absolutely dissect this team, pick them apart, and now they're pushing in.
I was talking about Chip. He's like, it's so hard to deal with this Echo when he gets ahead. He even has TP. He works best in flank situations, and he got a great flank there. Jensen's positioning and setup for that fight was great. They knew he was there too. He threw out the Time Winder. They know he's on the backside of the Drake, but they still can't deal with it even though they see it coming.
Arrow right down the middle, splits the team off. Half of them go for Jensen, who just ults himself back out. Contract immediately cleans up stuns, and Impact is able to peel for the bottom lane enough to keep Smoothie and Sneaky both alive.
We're talking about that mid game from C9. They make calls like that. They make map plays like that. It's the setup for the fight that Cloud9 really excels at.
Phoenix 1, things are getting very difficult for them once again. They've been in this scenario already before in the series, fighting to get vision back, fighting to create some space for them to make plays. And it really does, again, have to be in a numbers advantage situation because they're starting to just get outstatted with all the extra gold and Infernal Drakes going over here to Cloud9.
A little gold does sit in front of them with mid and bot turret, but in no way, shape, or forms are there waves or members ready to make that play. Chain of Corruption does slow it down, but Impact's already out, and Impact is already locking more down. There's the kill to start off the fight. Contract's low, he goes down to the Cataclysm, and now the fight continues. Depth charge back to Ryu. Zig, one shot from going down, and Sneaky sneaks one in to pick that up for himself. Stunt rather, follows through. And now Ryu's gonna have to hide, find safety under the turret or solace on the fountain because nothing outside the base is
Oh, yeah, hook!
There it is from Impact, another long-range hook. The follow-up kill to come through, and Jensen picks up another one, 3-0-3.
Doesn't matter who Cloud9 are playing, Ray, Impact, they're both playing great today. And Impact helps so much with that fight. Jensen on the flank as well. And pick off Meteos to start it off, but man, Cloud9 are starting to run away. It's that tempo. Once they get it, they keep forcing the fight, and they have the arrow to do so.
Yeah, Cloud9 look like they don't care who else is going to be in Vancouver, but they damn sure will be.
Let's see this again.
And it makes sure that their play is on point. Contracts hanging out in the front to cut off Ryu and Arrow's escape. Meteos goes down, but then Jensen is now in the back line. Contracts gets killed, and then Jensen shows up, can't really get out. And then Sneaky there for the cleanup. And now Stunt's just trying to kind of save Ryu, who flashes away there. And it's just miscommunication as well from P1. P1 are getting put in positions that they don't seem to know how to deal with. They've actually been playing the split pretty well as a team and playing coordinated fights, but this just seems like they're getting pulled apart by a composition that comes at you from all angles.
That was an awesome read by Impact to kind of follow the step backs of Ryu and how he was walking out of to get the last kill.
Yep, it comes down to vision too.
Cloud9
Meteos
great.
checked that because he wanted to make sure that there's something that he can do and be like, all right, let's clear this vision out. Let's establish some more control. It's the next step. Doesn't have the same type of reinforcements.
And now it becomes very, very easy for Cloud9 as they have teleport advantage as well. Impact is down at the bottom, creating pressure on that bottom lane, while the rest of them just have to wait around at Baron, slowly clear out the vision. Time is actually working in Cloud9's favor.
Yeah, it's the tag team where one TP's down. All right, other guy goes there. Now he's the split pusher. So Jensen was doing it previously, TP'd in. Now Impact gets to do it, and there's no TP to answer. And you can see C9 kind of have level advantages across the board. 1 up in the support, 2 up in the mid lane, and 2 in jungle, as well as 1 top.
Yeah, only drawback is Impact is slightly slower at killing turrets than Jensen.
just a little bit.
Doing his best, though. Zig actually trying to chase him off now, and the rest of C9 look for a pick onto Ryu.
Arrow down. May make them feel a little safe here as they go for somewhat of an engage there as Sneaky fires that one off in safety. A lot of what P1 has been doing is reactive to C9, and C9, knowing they're ahead, are firing these arrows constantly, pushing in with the dive crew of Jensen and Contracts to start these fights and scatter P1.
And just the damage difference as well when face checking.
Right.
Contracts able to almost blow up Meteos completely, and then there, Contracts face checks, and it takes 2 people to get him pretty low. But now you can see Meteos investing more in damage, like we know him to do on the Elise. The Haunting Guys, the Proto Belt coming through here. He had the Kindle Gem, but look at this Ryu, gonna get stunned.
Parallel Convergence locks him down. That means the team has to scatter even more. Bot turret's gonna fall. A little bit of a fight between Impact and Zig in the bot lane, but that only means Zig can't help here.
Exactly. You don't have to be in the parallel convergence when it first lands. If it lands, it stays there, and then it'll activate the first moment that Echo gets into it, and Jensen flashes in to get that stun on Ryu after the knockback. 3 levels up now, just destroying. The composition difference is huge here, too. C9 split push, 1-3-1. P1 don't have answers.
There's the Mage Eyes for Jensen.
Here come the rest of the team from base, too. It doesn't look like Phoenix One will get anything done. Cloud9 can just push him off his turret, then take the Drake afterwards. There's almost no recourse here for Phoenix One. They also have to worry about this Ash Arrow picking off anyone out of position. They're
4v5. Yeah.
Almost a go for broke moment. Meteos gets hit. Somebody that can get out of the situation, but once he falls, he is the target and instantly hit up by Contracts. Zig, a flag and drag out of the pit. No follow there. C9's happy with 1, and they'll look for Baron.
They got the Drake, but of course, it is going to be at the cost of a ton of pressure around Baron. There is maybe that Hail Mary play where Phoenix One feel like they're losing this game so heavily that they have to make a super risky play.
They have the AoE.
But honestly, this steal is so low chance because it doesn't even come from a smite. It would have to be somebody throwing a long-range ability in there.
And they did this in game 1. If it's 4v5, you don't even have to go for the 50-50. Just turn on them, go for the fight. Jensen there tries to zone a bit.
Sun actually doesn't even throw the ult on. He throws in a root, and nobody really gets taken down by it.
Yeah, you can
They're
tell.
out.
P1, they know what happened last time. They all walked forward
it's true.
in a 4v5 at the Baron. They got destroyed, and the game was over then. So now they cut their losses, but it's a 10,000 gold advantage almost for C9, 23.5 minutes in.
Jensen converting over to the Medjais as well, looking to add another page to that book as Cloud9 go for that purple victory lap right down into the base.
And
gotta be careful though, a little bit.
but nobody else really around to capitalize. And now he's getting flanked by Jensen. So this looks like it might be Echo food.
All right, here we go, a ring around the rosy. Oh.
Whoa. Jensen with the explosion onto Arrow. That means the DPS is gone.
It's too graphic for the NALCS. You can't watch that.
In the
Look
blink
here,
of an
look
eye.
there. Oh no, we can't look anywhere. They're all dying.
You can't show that on the screen. 16-3 here. as they continue in. We're only looking at 40-second death timers here. So Cloud9 also has to be careful going into the base, but they throw that to the wayside. Careful is not in the book.
Cloud9 determined to get their spot in the finals, and Phoenix One will get their chance in the third place match. Still such an upward trajectory for that team.
Each game more dominating than the last, more control. Even with the switch to the top lane, Phoenix One trying to pull out all the stops as well. With Meteos and Stunt, but Cloud9 persevere, come out strong, finish at the end of the split strong, and they will be looking for the finals in Vancouver.
A 25-minute victory from Cloud9 over the third place team from the regular season. That was a shellacking.
Absolutely amazing play for Cloud9. A 3-0 as they head to Vancouver for the finals, and definitely a game to watch for whoever their opponents are. We'll find out tomorrow. But like you said, shellacking as they came out very strong and found a groove each game, which makes it that much more dangerous when you know you're going to be in a best of 5 against these guys.
That's what you want to see going into the finals. You want to see a 3-0 from a team that wants to take the title. Cloud9, they've been flexing around that top lane. They've been working with so many different strategies, so many different diverse picks, that what really matters is winning, being the champions again with this lineup, and trying to make it to the mid-season invitational.
Smiles all around from the C9 squad. Almost all around.
Oh, that is awesome. The camaraderie between these teams as well. The top laners finishing off the handshakes. As these two men, you just saw Contracts, Jensen, the rest of the team behind them, but those dive buddies, Jensen and Contracts, really playing to each other's synergies and complementing each other very well this series.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that I was really looking at is Jensen, he's played really well. He's had great laning statistics, but at the same time, he brought in a rookie to be alongside him, was able to kind of groom him to be more towards his style in the mid lane. And that was something that's always kind of plagued Cloud9 mid laners and junglers, is they haven't always gotten along, but this seems to be a good combo.
As well, there seems to have been a change since Reaper stepped into the mix for the team. We heard when he came in, or even heard today from Captain Flowers, that Dash. The philosophy was kind of learning what the players wanted, understanding what the players wanted. But we also heard when he came in, this communication is a little mishap. So there were changes he did make to that team to make them as powerful as
Definitely
they are now.
one of their main strengths now.
Exactly.
You know, the warding especially, almost always at least 2 members really fighting around that mid lane to keep up that vision for Jensen, for his lane phase, and also get all these picks to start out their snowball.
Yeah, I thought it was really well played from Cloud9. What? What was that? Oh.
At the end of the game, I would have gone crazy.
But yeah, so Jensen actually went crazy for pretty much that whole series.
Yeah.
We talked about Ryu being a big strength for P1 up against Dignitas. That was not seen at all today. They shut him down. Didn't matter if he had Meteos. Didn't matter if he had an Ori next to him. Just vision control. And Cloud9 playing around mid.
And coming out of that, we saw Zig at the end there kind of going, smiles on their faces. What a change.
He's going to Canada
What a
anyway.
change for the organization, right?
Exactly.
So much this year that they were able to topple.
Feels better than relegation. I will say that for sure. Feels way better than promotion tournament where Zig had been in last split around that time in playoffs. Now he's played in playoffs. Not really the best showing there for the team, but they will have that third, fourth place match in Vancouver, so he'll be able to play in Canada where he's from.
That's what I wanted to hit on, is there were definitely some flaws there. A week now to kind of look at those and see what they can patch up, because we saw P1 getting some of the champions that they wanted in Champion Select, and it still wasn't coming to fruition for them. So right now we're going to go head to stage side where Captain Flowers has an interview with Cloud9's mid laner.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I am here with Jensen, who, along with his team, has just secured his spot in the North American LCS 2017 Spring Split Finals. How does that feel?
It feels good to be back in the finals, so hopefully this time around we can actually take it.
Now, last week we saw Phoenix One, and we saw Ryu specifically make some big plays for that team to get themselves here to the game that they just played against you guys. Was there anything in particular about that matchup, specifically the mid lane matchup, that you were thinking to really show this is what it's like to play against some of the top tier talent in mid lane and prove your dominance there?
Sort of. I don't think Dig players are bad. I just think they had problems with working together as a team. So I think P1 looked very dominant against them, but I think against us, I definitely felt like we were the favorites by far. So not really too worried here.
Now, speaking of you guys as a team, how well you work together, if we go back in time a little bit, take a step back towards what we saw in Toronto, the loss there was hard for you. How do you feel about Cloud9 right now as a team? Do you feel like this is a squad that has improved enough to take home the championship here in spring 2017?
I think we're still a fairly new team, but I think we're definitely a really, really good team as well. Not really sure if I feel like we are much stronger than we were that split, because, like I said, we're still a fairly new team, but I think we can do it. But at the same time, I think it's going to be really hard because, I mean, there's still Fly versus TSM, but I expect TSM to win that series, and I think TSM is looking really good right now, so it'll be hard for sure.
It'll be hard for sure, but the Cloud9 shot at redemption and revenge against TSM, or potentially even FlyQuest, depends on who goes there, could be very real. Thank you very much, Jensen. Best of luck to you and the rest of Cloud9 going on to the finals next week. And now we're going to toss things back to the analyst desk to see what they make of the series.
Thank you very much, Mr. Flowers. I'm demoting you here. You're no longer the captain just because I said so. I feel like smack talking today. 3-0 though, Cloud9, solid game, and honestly, I would say a more one-sided match than we thought. Game 3, about as snowball as the others. Contracts popping off as usual.
Yeah, I think that in general, it felt like P1 never really got off the ground in this series. They never really had like a good opportunity to win the series, or even any of the individual games. There was never a time where any of their players were dominating. It just felt like it was all C9.
This game was one where I was like, oh, it's going off to a good start. You got Meteos doing the very specific small Raptor camp into Blue Buff invade, and they stole a little bit of the enemy Raptor camp. So I was like, wow, dude, they got something good going. And then
when they stole one jungle camp, that was their best.
That is a good start, though.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it is. I mean,
the series was getting out jungled, and it's like Inori's constantly losing pressure to contracts. So hey, maybe
Meteos gets a unique level 1, and then was able to pull ahead the enemy jungler early, doing like a proactive invade. I thought, it looked okay at minute 3. And then, maybe like toward minute
until you're losing, right?
Yeah, toward minute 9, I was like, okay, maybe it looks kind of bad. And then like minute 17, I was like, oh, they just got 3 for 0 or something like that, and to like a 5 for 1, and then they lose the game.
Yeah, I think Contracts really just deserves so much credit for this series. Like, he looked good in all 3 games. I think he was the better jungler in all 3 games. I have even been someone to levy some criticism towards him. I think that, like, while he has been a good player, he has not been a great player, and I think he has been, one of the lower performers on Cloud9, but today that was certainly not true. And, like, most people are assuming TSM will go to the finals. Most people are assuming in either of those matchups that he would have to perform exceptionally well. And I think that if he could perform against whoever they play in the finals on this level, then C9 would have a really good chance there.
Yeah, I totally agree. Cloud9 has been, and it's funny because I think for most people power ranked Cloud9 above TSM, that pound for pound their players are overall better. And if they are playing on this form, maybe C9 gets back to that form. TSM obviously the #1 seed, now the favorite for the assumed final matchup, but going to be an interesting one to look at regardless. Now, with some great performances from C9 as a whole, we still want to recognize the one person in particular who we thought ensured his team spot in finals the best, and it is the rookie of the split in Contracts. A shock to many coming into the match, but after seeing these games, I think no surprise at all. Contracts performed so much better than he had from the regular season.
And like I said, this is such a unique thing for his team. Like, he makes sure that they get out of lane phase. They have such good laners, and he's there to make sure action happens. And at the very beginning of the split, maybe he wasn't as consistent as he was now, and every single game he's making sure that, like, they get out of lane phase. He starts to kill the ganks off. In the second game, 100% kill participation. Like, what else do you have to say aside from that?
Yeah, I mean, and it's really exciting because this really is the new era of Cloud9. Everyone thinks of Cloud9 as a dominant organization, but it's been since, you said spring of 2014, I believe.
Thursday is their 3-year anniversary of actually winning a split.
Yeah, so it's been a long time. And I mean, Jensen came in, he has not won a split. Smoothie is a new up-and-comer. Contracts is a new up-and-comer. They, like, even Ray is newer to the league, right? There's a lot of guys on this roster that have not won a championship and are very hungry to get one. And I think that the way that they performed today was giving them a good chance.
Yeah, and I was really surprised when you guys told me that. Like, when they were awarding, when Jensen was like, I'd like to win a championship, I even asked these guys on the desk, like, wait, he hasn't won one? I look at him and I look at players like Impact. I'm like, these players are like near world-class level, and they have not ever taken home the trophy. It's going to be a good playoff.
Impact got
finals.
one trophy.
Yeah,
Oh,
Impact got a couple.
You got a world champion over
He got
here.
a pretty good one.
I
You're
mean,
right. You're
he got-
right.
it's
But what
like-
about the North American trophy?
Yeah, he's never done
does-
it. Neither is Faker.
Exactly. He doesn't have the North American LCS championship. He has the participation ribbon, which is the world championship, but
Not as good.
not as good.
It's
Not as good.
a little bit worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, until you win a tournament in Canada, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to, is how I'm on your side with this one. Yeah, but honestly, a well-played match by C9. I think they are definitely in form heading into the finals. Phoenix 1 will be into the third place match, and you know, kind of some quick thoughts on what they got to do for the next week of practice, essentially.
I mean, I think you have to really decide, like, what is your 5-man roster? What are you going with? And if you are making subs back and forth, why are you making them? You know, a lot of people theorize, okay, Shady, they're bringing him in because of his different champion pool. You're going to have the guy play Vel'Koz. You're going to have the guy play Brand, right? That makes a lot of sense. If he's just coming in to play the same champions as Stunt, but then you're also subbing Stunt in, it's like, you know, what is the reasoning here? I think that's something that they really need to gain some confidence in and kind of restabilize. But then also, they have to realize that they have crushed everyone except C9 and TSM recently. And you know, if TSM goes to the finals, then they're playing FlyQuest.
Yeah, and you expect them to win that one and take the top 3, and that'd be nice for them. Any final thoughts, Skara?
No, I just think that C9's a great team, and it's like that P1 and C9 both want to do the same thing. They want to get the team fights mid-late game and trust in their carries, and just C9's just better at being able to do it.
Yeah, they got the carries online a bit sooner. So that's going to do it for us here. Cloud9 have earned their spot into the 2017 Spring LCS Finals, and that's almost all we have left to do. We've got to figure out who is left to face them, and that will be determined tomorrow with FlyQuest taking on TSM. The loser of that match will again face Phoenix 1 in the battle for third. And that match, the third place match, will be Saturday, April 22nd, also in Canada up in BC.
Yeah, I'm super excited for the FlyQuest TSM one, even though TSM is heavily favored. I mean, Lemonation talking about 3 matches and you're a god, right? They took down CLG. If they could beat TSM, that would be a pretty historic run to the finals, where then they would be playing against C9, and it's like old C9 versus new C9 would be pretty cool.
I've learned throughout the years not to bet against High. Like, at the very least, I'll give them 1 game. And I think that it's crazy to think that that could be a series where it could be a closer series than the series we saw today. Like, I would never have said that coming into playoffs. I thought FlyQuest kind of snuck in there at the very tail end. But after they beat CLG and reverse swept them, now you got to have at least a little bit of faith.
Yeah, well, we'll see if that happens. Of course, it's going to be a very fun one to watch for. Plenty of exciting matches still to come as we just wait to see what the last match is going to be. We're down to the final 3 matches of the North American LCS split.
And we're getting closer and closer to finding out, you know, who is going to go to MSI, right? And I mean, for me, that's always a very exciting time. Not to get too far ahead of myself, but you know, CLG last year, that was
Top
the
2.
best NA has ever performed at MSI. So I do hope that whoever goes is on point and can put up a good performance.
Yeah, and honestly, I trust most of the teams that are going. All the teams that are going. I don't want to throw any teams under the bus there. I trust all the teams that are going, and I hope to see some really good performances out of them. But that's pretty far in the future. Like, I'm just here to watch games tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think globally we have, you know, some really good teams going overall. In North America, it's down to Cloud9, TSM, FlyQuest. If FlyQuest play well enough to beat both those teams, like, that's a really good team no matter what. But like, C9 looks super sharp today. TSM, we know, always does well in play. If they've never missed a final, and you know, if they can keep their international performance actually going well. G2 looked pretty good today, and in Korea you've got like the telecom wars, like SKT, KT, those teams are insane as well, and MSI looks to be a really exciting tournament in the near future.
And I think for TSM, you know, they're a team that would be very hungry, not only to redeem themselves, you know, like regionally after last year's Worlds performance, but also to have a good international performance. So they definitely have their eyes set on MSI, on getting all the way to the finals, and we'll see if they can actually pull that off.
The last best domestic NA performance was at MSI. And
That's
maybe
true.
we can repeat that performance this time around.
You know, it is interesting, actually. It feels like the midseason invitational has consistently been the tournament of interesting situations. Like a couple years ago, it was China actually beat Korea. Like someone finally dethroned Korea in a major event. Edward Gaming taking on SKT. CLG made it to top 2. Somehow, like G2 was supposed to be top 2 and didn't make it out of groups. Like crazy things happen. And it's not to be EU salt, but like the crazy things happen at MSI, right? And then we had like Albus Nox make top 8 at Worlds. Like it's been increasingly interesting watching international competition in League of Legends. We'll see what's going to be in store for us here at the midseason invitational. But for now, of course, it's all about the NALCS. That's going to do it for us here. And on behalf of myself, the casters, our analysts, and the entire live broadcast crew, thank you so much for watching. We will see you tomorrow for TSM FlyQuest.